Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a really wild question today. Have you ever stopped to wonder if the laws that govern our everyday lives are just arbitrary rules made up by politicians, or if they're anchored in something deeper, like something structurally real? Today, we are going on a fascinating intellectual journey to explore the work of a brilliant mind who argued that legal concepts are actually just as real and just as objective as the screen you're looking at right now.
Okay, let's dive into this. Just listen to this quote. The structures which one has generally called specifically legal have a being of their own, just as much as numbers, trees, or houses. That is a total paradigm shift. We're talking about the profound realization that law isn't just something a state invents out of thin air. Instead, legal entities have an independent, objective existence. They are quite literally part of the furniture of reality.
Here is our roadmap for the Explainer today. We'll start by meeting a forgotten legal architect, unpack the invisible mechanics of social acts, trace the life histories of legal objects, contrast timeless laws with state-made laws, and finally, explore how this all builds a really profound bridge to Islamic jurisprudence, or Fiqh.
Part 1. A forgotten legal architect.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the historical context. For centuries, legal philosophy was basically deadlocked. On one side, you had natural law, the idea that law comes from this divine or moral universe. On the other side, you had legal positivism, which basically says law is just whatever the sovereign state says it is. But a student of Edmund Husserl named Adolf Reinach offered a brilliant way out. He was trained as a lawyer, and in 1913, he published an absolute masterpiece on the foundations of civil law. Tragically, he died very young on the battlefields of World War I, which marginalized his work for decades. But today, his incredible theories are seeing a massive modern revival.
So, Reinach offered what we can call a third path. He used a philosophical method called Phenomenology, which in simple terms means looking at the essential nature of human experience without any preconceptions. And by doing that, he created a structural vocabulary that acts as an incredibly powerful bridge. Specifically, it gives us an objective way to harmonize modern, Western codified law with the rich, traditional frameworks of Fiqh, which is something currently being navigated by the Iranian legal community.
Moving into Part 2. The power of social acts. So how does this actually work mechanically? What are the invisible building blocks of this legal architecture? Well, Reinach's most groundbreaking discovery is his theory of social acts. Now, these are not just internal thoughts or quiet mental states. If I secretly decide in my head to give you my car, that's just a private thought. It doesn't change reality at all. A social act is spontaneous, it's directed outwardly toward another person, and crucially, it is in need of being heard to complete its existence. It requires a physical medium, like a voice, a physical gesture, or a signature.
Let's walk through the mechanics of this with a relatable micro-narrative. Imagine I promise to pay you $100. Step 1, I have the internal will. I intend to be bound by this. Step 2, the external expression. I actually speak the words out loud to you. Step 3, the essential receipt. You hear and understand what I said. And the exact moment Step 3 happens, it triggers Step 4, an ontological result. A literal new reality is generated mechanically. A new legal entity is instantly born into the world, regardless of whether a king or a parliament ever wrote a law about it.
And this brilliantly illustrates the cross-cultural power of this framework. When that promise is heard, it creates a claim for you and an obligation for me. Reinach called these Anspruch and Verbindlichkeit in his native German, but for an Iranian jurist looking at this exact same mechanism, these concepts map perfectly and directly to the Fiqh concepts of haq, meaning right, and ilzam, meaning obligation. A promise isn't just some polite moral suggestion, it is an ontological event that changes the actual furniture of reality across any legal system on Earth.
Part 3. The life histories of legal objects.
So if these social acts give birth to new realities, what exactly are they? Reinach realized that legal entities belong to a completely unique category of being. They aren't physical, right? You can't hold a claim in your hand. But they aren't purely psychological either. Just think about the timeline. At second 1, the claim is born from our social act. By hour 24, it continues to endure. Even if both of us fall deeply asleep and completely stop thinking about it, that claim still exists in the world independently of our minds. And then at year 1, it experiences death. It is extinguished only when I finally pay you that $100, or if you explicitly waive the debt. They have actual temporal life histories.
Which naturally brings us to property. Modern legal theory often treats property as this man-made bundle of sticks, just a bunch of arbitrary rights the state decides to grant you. Reinach said, absolutely not. Property is an irreducible, essential relation between a person and a thing. It's a fundamental bond. The positive legal system, the state, might regulate exactly how you transfer property, sure, but it does not invent the concept of ownership. It just finds it. And this resonates incredibly deeply with the Islamic view of milkiyat, which views property as a fundamental, divinely sanctioned reality rather than a mere state invention.
Part 4. A priori versus positive law.
So, how does this invisible, perfect blueprint interact with messy, everyday politics? Reinach basically divides the legal universe into two spheres. On one side, we have the a priori realm. These are timeless, necessary truths, honestly very much like the laws of mathematics. They're discovered through a process of essential insight. On the other side, we have positive law. This is flexible, freely enacted, and constantly changing based on whatever our economic or social needs are at the time. Positive law is created purely through human enactments.
So, the crucial point is this. Positive law has the total freedom to deviate from a priori truth for practical reasons, but it cannot change the essential nature of those truths. Let's look at an example. The essence of a claim is that it dies the moment the creditor waives it, right? Now, a modern state legislature might pass a law saying, no, a debt is only canceled if you get it stamped by a notary in triplicate. The state can absolutely enforce that rule, but they haven't changed the essence of what a claim actually is. They've just layered a procedural bureaucratic hurdle over it. The underlying structure remains completely intact.
Part 5. The bridge to Fiqh.
Let's move to our final point and see how this builds a massive intellectual bridge for the Iranian legal community. First, Reinach's method of Wesenschaft, this seeing of essences, empowers legal scholars to look way beyond historical texts and ask what the essential objective structure of a legal institution actually is. Second, as we touched on, it perfectly aligns with milkiyat, seeing property as an uninvented, discovered right. Third, Reinach's concept of enacting laws, Bestimmen, literally stems from the German word for voice. A legislator is giving voice to a binding commandment, and that profoundly mirrors the concept of legislative authority within a Sharia-informed framework. It shows us that legal concepts aren't just pragmatic, secular tools. They are grounded in a deep, rationally discernible order of reality.
We've seen how Adolf Reinach uncovered the hidden architecture of promises, claims, and property, proving that our everyday social acts quite literally change the fabric of the world around us. His work shows us that law possesses a universal grammar, one that is equally true in ancient times, modern civil courts, and diverse legal traditions like Fiqh. And it leaves us with a truly profound question to ponder as we wrap up today's explainer. If the basic building blocks of law are not just invented by the state, but are objective realities found in the world, what other hidden structures of our everyday lives are just waiting to be discovered? Thank you so much for joining me, and keep exploring.